here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline?
I was very tempted to just put defense.
I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
Come on, Austin and I've been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
The Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. You know, last week we had 2 episodes. We talked about fantasy with special guest Landon Bowe. Thanks again for joining us. And the other, I believe, was like Panic. Or no, it wasn't. No, that's what we're doing today. The other one, I believe, was NFL Awards review, or kind of changing those awards. But now, telling teams, panic, not panic. We got different lists, different categories. Austin, tell me why.
Well, I kind of went with a sea, or I guess you could say pirate theme, sort of, kind of. So for mine, my categories are perfect seas, chilling, meeting expectations, all right, worried, alarm is ringing, and abandoned ship. So I guess it's not really pirate with alarm is ringing, but you could do like modern day pirate, but it's really just ocean kind of themed. And I have more categories than you, so say yours.
Yeah, so I did panic button theme. You know, you're vibing. You're not worried about a panic button. I'm sure internal, external, whatever, panic button. You're vibing. Then you're just calm. Like, you're not totally vibing. Then you're fine. Okay? I'm starting to feel a little bit worried. Then, okay, I need to find this panic button because I want to be ready to press it just in case. And then we have panic button. You're hitting the panic button. And I got a couple teams in that. So vibing, I think, just depends. It's all different teams for me. Like, you can be vibing on different situations. So I'll let you go first because you're at sea, right? That's your...
Yeah, I'd say at sea. At sea. That's a good way to put it. So for me, perfect seas. Yeah, again, this is just smooth sailing is another way to put it. It's everything's going right now. And I do think that record doesn't really matter here, but it's as a fan perspective, sort of. So perfect seas, Dolphins, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, Lions, and Bucks. Heading into the year, what more can you expect from these teams? Lions being 4-1, Bucks being 3-1, Chiefs lost one game, but it's the Chiefs. They'll figure it out. Dolphins lost one game, but they still have the best offense of all time through 5 weeks. The Eagles haven't lost, and the 49ers haven't lost. So all of these teams, you could not expect much better heading into the year.
Yeah, I agree. I share a couple. I have Bucks, Falcons, Eagles, Niners, Lions, Texans, and that's it. Falcons, to me, I know they're not leading the division, but I feel you're doing well. I don't think they expect anything major. Bijan has looked great for them. I think he's really helped Desmond Ridder. Same thing for the Bucks. Like, hey, you're 3-1. I don't need to really worry about that much. And then I think Eagles, Niners, you're the 2 best teams in the NFC, as we clearly saw this past weekend, especially on Sunday night. And then same thing with Lions, Texans, just really good. The Lions are doing better. Texans, CJ Stroud looks really good. Broke a lot of rookie records already. And yeah, that's all I got. I'll go into my calm. You know, Cardinals are calm. Steelers, Colts, Jaguars, Raiders, and then you got the Rams and Dolphins. Dolphins, okay. I don't. Yeah. What about you?
Is that partially because of like the injuries, like with Achane and
a little bit? And I believe they lost to the Bills, which that's their one loss. little like I think there's some concern you can have with the Dolphins, like you mentioned injuries. And I think there's concern with the Steelers offense. Cardinals, I think there's I know they got the win against the Cowboys, but and they've had some hard fought games, but I think you're just a little concerned about okay, where are we at? What do we know? And Raiders are on the edge of fine. Like I know they got a couple wins, but Jimmy G I don't think has done what they expected, but they're not terrible. They're okay. And then Jaguars, I think there are just some holes you can poke in these teams, and that based on where they are at right now.
Okay. Well, for me, they're chilling. They aren't. It isn't the best day of their life, but it's far from the worst. And those are the Texans, Colts, Seahawks, and Cardinals. These teams, I feel like they understand where they're at. Seahawks being 3-1, they obviously could have been in the other tier, but their loss to the Rams concerns me more than the loss for the Bucks against the Eagles. So, or the Dolphins loss against the Bills. Colts injuries with Anthony Richardson is concerning, but their overall play being 3-2, Shane Steichen looks like a good head coach. I don't think there's any reason to worry. Seahawks, like I said before, Texans, they just look good for a young team that's not supposed to be as good, and that's the same thing with the Cardinals. They played so much better than even the record at 1-4, and so much better, even with the injuries to Kyler Murray and now James Conner than they were supposed to be coming into the year. I'll go into my next tier. This is meeting expectations. All these teams, I think, are meeting expectations. They're not flashy. They're not doing overly more than they really should be, but they're not playing bad at all. The Falcons are here. They've had some rough games like any other team in this category, but they've also had some good games. And the Falcons being 3-2 in their division, and I can go right on to the Saints, who are also 3-2 in their division. Both teams have had bad games, but they're 3-2. They weren't supposed to be great, but they also were supposed to be contending for a playoff spot, so which they are. So I think they're meeting expectations there. With the Jaguars, they've had some tough losses, but they're winning against the Bills last week, bumped them into this category. They're 3-2 at the top of their division, or at least tied with it with the Colts. So they've had a good start to the year. And then with the Chargers, another team has had some injuries to deal with, whether it's Mike Williams or Austin Eckler. And when you consider those injuries and some of the teams they played against, like the Dolphins being really good, I think 2-2 is meeting expectations. They should be playing better at the towards the end of the year, but for right now, they're meeting expectations.
Okay. All right. My next category is fine. Like, this isn't great. It's fine. Like Ross said, I'm fine. There's a reason there should be an inflection with some of these teams. It doesn't mean they're not quite meeting expectations, even though they have a good record, because I have the Chiefs on this list. I think they are fine now because, of course, you have Mahomes. Their defense has played great. I'm concerned about the wide receiver because, in the Chiefs' perspective, you're compete for another Super Bowl. I don't think you can make it to the Super Bowl with this wide receiving core. Last year's wide receiving core, they didn't have a dominant wide receiver, but to me, you still had Kelsey healthy, which is another thing here, and there were good players. I think they're really missing. I heard someone talking about they're missing Juju, and I'm like, that's fair, and just another guy that demands space, or attention. From Kelsey, my others are Commanders, Seahawks, Chargers, Packers, Bengals, Cowboys, Saints, Ravens. Ravens here because wide receiver issue. Like I've seen the clips of the guys dropping balls, and Odell. To me, I thought they had fixed it. And I don't really blame Lamar. He didn't quite throw that ball well on the interception, but his other wide receivers need help. He needs help at wide receivers. Cowboys, I expected a loss to the Niners. I did not expect a loss to the Cardinals. They are not contenders to me, so they're just doing fine. I don't really need to panic unless anything else happens. Packers, I think you're cool with it. Curious what you think. Chargers, let's kind of pull together, but you're on the edge. What do you think?
So I'll go into my all right. This has the most teams of any tier with 8. Those teams are the Bills, Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, Browns, Cowboys, Rams, and Packers. Just like you said, this is not meeting expectations. This is a little bit lower, but you're definitely not freaking out yet. It's you're fine. The water's a little choppy, but you're not worried about it capsizing. So there's no reason to go into full panic mode, but there's also reason to understand that you can get better and there is calmer seas ahead. Packers, as a Packers fan, I'm not worried about Jordan Love. People do not understand how to be patient with players. Jordan Love has played well, shown flashes in moments, but also has had bad moments. He's also played poorly. He's also made some bad plays. At the end of the day, it's totally fine. We're 2-2, right? Is it 2-2?
Or maybe
2-3. We're 2-3. I forgot we had the bye this week. That's right. So we're 2-3. That's fine. We've had some close losses, and those competitive games will help Jordan Love get better. With the Rams, they had a good week 1 win against the Seahawks, but they've also played some tough opponents. The injuries are concerning. Trading away Cam Akers was the right thing to do. They're just below meeting expectations, especially with how well some of the players have played. With Puka, you expect them to have a better record, which is why I don't have them as meeting expectations. But they still have some good storylines. The Cowboys, the loss to the Cardinals really puts them here, and to the severity that they lost to the 49ers. That was not a close game. And Dak said before the year that he was not going to throw 10 picks, and he's already at, 4?
Oh,
I think he's at
4?
I think he's at 4. He threw 3, obviously, last game against the 49ers, which really did not help their case. But what were you saying?
Yeah, that's a great point. The severity kind of takes it. You're not a contender. They should not be talked about contenders because losing to the Niners is fine. But like you said, I completely forgot about that. I blocked it out. The severity in which they just got dominated, that puts them there. So, I just wanted to underscore, it was not close.
And it's who they've beat as well. I believe they beat the Jets, Giants, and Patriots.
Yes.
And those are not good teams. Those are not the teams that are going to get you to the Super Bowl playing in the playoffs. So those are teams that I don't think you should be all that proud of beating. You need to beat, and obviously one of those teams you need to beat was the Cardinals, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
My next all right team being the Browns. Injuries to Deshaun Watson, he should play this week, but they still have some concern because of the Nick Chubb injury. How will the rushing offense look? Their defense is playing well, though, so I have them here. Ravens, they need wide receiver help. They are not helping Lamar out. The pick was Lamar's fault. He threw it to inside, but there were so many balls dropped by wide receivers that Ravens should have easily won that game, and Lamar did not play that bad. He did make one bad throw that should have resulted in a pick, but that wasn't enough for them to lose the game. Bengals, they're fine. There's been injuries. I think Joe Burrow's back to 100%, so there's less to worry about in that instance. Steelers, their defense is incredible. Their offense is utterly horrible. What will win out? They are so good at home. Can their offense get it together? Because if it can, I still love their defense so that they could become an even better team. And then with the Bills, that loss to the Jaguars last week was not clean. It was a pretty ugly loss. There was many plays that they could have gotten much better results from, and they didn't. And then their other loss being to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers is just an ugly loss. So I have them here. But I'll go into my next category because I have more than you. You have
one more.
Or what's that?
My bad. I want to talk about the Bengals because their last week kind of put me at ease. I was getting a little bit. I was like, okay, I know 0-3 or like 0-2. Like they dealt with it. But last week kind of put me at ease with the offense, especially Jamar Chase. That's a big thing to me. So I wanted to touch on that because I was starting to get worried. Like, man, I don't like this. I think it was the calf injury for Burrow. And I'm really impressed with their defense, though. That defense has played well. It was just the offense that was concerning. But this is why they're fine because of last week's win, in my opinion.
Yeah, and their O-line is still bad, so they got to fix that. For worried, I have Commanders, Raiders, Vikings, Jets, Titans. I'll start with the Vikings. The Justin Jefferson injury is why I'm here. Not even the 1-4 start. I think they can come back. if they lose to the Bears this week, it's abandoned ship. We're trading Kirk right this second. But the loss of the Chiefs in a close game, another close game where they could have won, I'm not panicking yet. I'm worried, but I'm not full blown screaming at the top of my lungs that change has to happen now. For the Commanders, such an ugly loss to the Bears. Their defense is easily one of the worst in the league, and that's not something you would expect from a Ron Rivera-led team. They allowed 33 points to the Broncos. They obviously allowed 40 to the Bears. They allowed 37 to the Bills. Their defense is just not playing as well as it should. Raiders, there is some concern on the offensive side. You have all these really talented players. When you talk about Josh Jacobs, Jacoby Myers, obviously Devontae Adams, they're just not getting the production you'd want. Josh McDaniel was supposed to be this amazing offensive mind, and he's obviously not been that. Their defense has been fine. Max Crosby's having a great year, but there is something lacking there. For the Jets, they beat the Broncos. I'm still not confident in their offense outside of Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Zach Wilson's obviously starting to learn part of the offense, but he still makes mistakes that should not be made. And while I do think he's an NFL caliber player, is he a starter? We still have to find that out. The Titans, their defense is bad outside of their offensive line and Kevin Byard, and maybe Sean Murphy Bunting as well. But they allowed too many extra yards when they shouldn't be there. Their offense is not great. They have to incorporate Derrick Henry more into this offense. And they're 2-3 in a division where there's 2-2-3 teams and 2-3-2 teams. I'm not panicking yet, but I'm getting to that point.
Yeah, I think those are some great teams, and I think that matches with my find the panic button. I'm getting worried about these teams. You and I share a lot. Vikings to me, yeah, Justin Jefferson. If they don't, this is where I know where the panic button is. If something bad happens, I'm hitting it. This is what these are for the teams. The Titans for me, as you said, Browns. I know you had them as like all right. I'm getting a little worried. Deshaun Watson's injury, but also like Deshaun Watson hasn't been that great. So I'm getting a little bit worried. Jets, same thing. If they do not get a win this week, I'm hitting the panic button and I need to find a new quarterback. You got to do that. It should have already been done. And then I believe the other team I have is the Chicago Bears. I know they had that great win, but I still want to know where the panic button is, because if something doesn't go right, then I'm getting concerned. However, I feel good about the Bears because if they're terrible, then I would just draft Caleb Williams and start over. And you also have some high picks. So I don't believe you had the Bears yet, right?
No, I have not included the Bears on my list yet.
And then, so you were worried, is there another one before, like, abandoned ship?
Yes, there is.
Okay, cool. I'll let you do that. Then you can go to abandoned ship, and then I'll go my panic button.
Okay, so mine is alarm is ringing. So the sirens are going off in the ship saying, we got to fix something. Something is wrong in the ship. Let's try to fix it. So this is the calm before the storm, or maybe not the calm before the storm, but the storm before the hurricane. It's the rain before the hurricane. The warning signs are there. The ship is leaking. We got to do something right now. If not, we're out. We got to leave. So for these teams, I have just 3. Bears, Panthers, Patriots. The Panthers' way that they've really dealt with this situation has been bad. They're complaining about a wide receiver one when they traded away DJ Moore, but Adam Thielen's been one of the best wide receivers in the league, and that's not even all that weird to say. He's 11th in receiving yards. He's in games that he was healthy, so the last 4 games, so not including week 1, he's averaging 96 yards per game. Adam Thielen is, but their rushing attack has been bad. Their defense has been worse than advertised. The ship's leaking. We gotta see. You should not be 0-5 at this point. The last team without a win, that's a bad sign. Bears, it's not complete abandoned ship yet, because you know that Caleb Williams could be on the rise, and you can get a lot of the Justin Fields now. We'll see how that works out. I'm really anticipating these next few weeks to really determine Matt Eberflus's job and Justin Fields' starting job as well. We have to see some improvement, but I still think there's some hope there. DJ Moore and this offense really coming to light the last 2 weeks has really moved them from abandoned ship up into this better category. And then alarm is ringing, last team, Patriots. We're not abandoning ship yet, but this offense is horrible. They've scored 3 points in the last 2 weeks while being outscored, I believe, 38
32.
Say again.
I believe 38-32.
They were outscored by 35 last week and 34 this week. They were 34-0 was the score this week.
Yes. Gotcha.
So, bad. Their defense has been bad. Their offense has been worse, which is even hard to say. People want to blame Bill, and I do think part of it is on him, but the way this offense looks right now, he's always been a defensive coordinator as a head coach. He's a great head coach, a great mind, but he's never really had impact on the opposite side of the ball. And that's okay. Most coaches don't have impact on both sides. Andy Reid does not worry about defense, and that's okay. That's his job, is to worry about offense. So Bill needs to hire better people to be the offensive coordinator or to run offensive plays or understand that, hey, this isn't working. Try something new. I don't really know the offensive side, but you got to try something. And we're getting to the point where people are going to start getting fired if we're not careful. And obviously, Bill, as being the GM, it looks bad when a lot of these young players are playing as poorly as they are. So he does take a lot of that blame, but we're not abandoning ship. We're not firing Bill Belichick. Let's calm down. Let's fix the mini leaks that we have. Let's fix them before we have to actually escape.
Okay, yeah, I think you talked a lot about teams. I'll let you. Do you want me to go into my panic button?
You do yours, because I only have 2 in mind. So
okay, I have 4. You kind of mentioned them. To me, the Patriots, I'm not saying fire Bill Belichick, but if I'm giving Belichick one more year. But like you said, talent. Like, okay, this really isn't working. If I'm Bill Belichick, I am panicking. Okay, I don't have quarterback solved. I don't have a lot of other issues solved. And like I was going to use that point, so we're on the same wavelength there with you need to hire better people. Last year was kind of like, we'll see what comes up with the offensive coordinator. They bring in Bill O'Brien. Hasn't worked on offense, like you mentioned. Next, I have the Carolina Panthers as a panic button. They're 0-5. Do I still like their future? Yes. But whatever coming into the season, I was high on them. You got to panic. Like, okay, what went wrong here? What did we miss? And then I have the Giants as a panic button. That might be a little bit too harsh, but you've just dealt with a lot of injuries. I know there's some regression given. I think we were both expecting that, but this much seems a little excessive. So I'm like, okay, I'm panicking. What happened? Why is this happening? Next, I believe I've said 3. Next is the Denver Broncos. You got to fix something. I don't know what's happening. I expect them. I didn't expect them to be amazing, but you have a lot of hype, and it has not worked. What are your 2 teams?
So my 2 teams are the Giants and the Broncos. These are abandoned ship. The entire offensive line, because of Andrew Thomas's injury for the Giants, has been horrible. The worst offensive line easily in football. Saquon Barkley getting hurt. They're not getting Daniel Jones any time. Daniel Jones already has been sacked more times in his career than Andrew Luck.
Wow.
And Andrew Luck's played many more games. So we talk about Andrew Luck getting hit. Daniel Jones is getting hit. I do not blame Daniel Jones for half of it. The bad decisions he's made usually come under pressure. And I do not blame him for that. I don't blame Brian DeBall. The problem was Evan Neal has been utterly horrible, and their O-line is not playing well. Their defense is young, so it still has time to improve, but the offensive line's abandoned ship. It's such a – your whole is your offensive line. It's what keeps you afloat. It's what makes sure that you can survive. That's the D-line and O-line. And their O-line has a gaping hole in it, and the ship is sinking to a point I cannot explain.
Yeah, we are pro offensive line on this podcast.
Yes, and defensive
That's,
line.
we've talked about it since our early days. We were team Panay Sewell over Jamar Chase. That's a great point. And yeah, I'm not saying firing Brian DeBall, but like, okay, what is the problem? We need to fix this now because it's affecting our season. So yeah, I just wanted to chime in. Pro offensive line podcast.
100%. And then my last team, Broncos, they're probably the lowest on here. Their defense is one of the best in football last year, and their entire coaching left, obviously, I believe. Vance Joseph wasn't with the team last year, right?
Vance Joseph, no, he was new.
I know that he was their head coach before.
Who was their defensive coordinator last year?
Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator for the Cardinals last year, Vance Joseph was. So
I wonder who's was it? No, it wasn't. I can't remember who's the defensive coordinator was last year.
I am trying to figure it out. But to my point, while I'm trying to figure this out, the way this team has just played has been so bad. It's just I can't believe how a defensive coordinator has come in and made it so much worse. I don't even know what to say. Their defensive coordinator last year.
I'm also trying to look for it. I can't.
Where is it on this list? It says staff changes, so that it didn't change. So maybe.
Apparently, Bill Kolar was a defensive consultant.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just cannot find this. But I'll just while you're looking.
Tell he was in 2021, or maybe 2022. Was I believe Ajo Avero.
Yep, it was. It was Ajiro Avero, who is now the defensive coordinator for the
Panthers.
Panthers.
I've never heard of that guy.
So, he was obviously amazing last year with the Broncos. They bring in a whole new defensive coordinator in Vance Joseph. And the defense is now the worst in football officially. They allowed 31 points to the Jets. And I understand there was a fumble recovery, so it wasn't that much. But they still allowed the most points by the offense for the Jets all year. They allowed 31 points, or 28 points, to the Bears, who had never scored that much this year. They allowed 35 points to the Commanders, 70 points to the Dolphins. If the whole of the ship is the O-line and D-line, the entire defense is the entire what makes you turn. It's you can't go through a season without a defense, because the mass would obviously be the offense, because that's what makes you go fast, right? But without being able to turn, you're just going to run into everything. This is the problem with a lot of the teams that have a bad defense, is that they meet their problems and they have to outscore them. So to get to a place faster, right, you can't take the most exact angle. If you think about it in a ship, you want to take a perfect line to it. But if you can't turn, you just have to go faster. You just have to, if you can only turn not very sharply, you just have to go faster. With this, when you have a good defense, you can be more methodical with it. And the Broncos defense, their offense is better. I saw a thing that if their offense played as well as it did this year, last year, they would have won almost all their games. They would have still lost week 1. But week 2, they lost 16-9 last year, and then 11-10, and then or they won. That's right. They won 16-9, won 11-10, lost 23-32, lost 9-12 against the Colts. I can't believe they lost to that Colts team led by Matt Ryan. Again, their offense was horrible. Their defense was great. And now the entire ship is flipped. And I don't know what you do besides if I'm the owner of the team, you would have to convince me not to fire and cut every person on the roster and start from scratch, because something is intrinsically wrong with how this team is run. But you've already invested so much into Russ and Deshaun Payton that I don't know if there's any escape.
Yeah, I don't really think. The only escape I can see is I keep Sean Payton on, but maybe I'm so terrible I get a rookie quarterback and then I say goodbye to Russ.
But who wants him? I don't see
I know.
how this works
Yeah, I
out.
think you have to just take your loss, but it's a tough decision. Like I don't know if you saw that tweet of what they had given up for Sean Payton and Russ. It's 3 first-round picks, like 2 second-round picks, millions and millions of dollars, and yeah, it's rough. And I think you brought up a great point with defense. Loved the boat reference. That's all I got. I'll let you close it out, Austin.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what team should be panicking or not. Are we being too harsh on your favorite team or not harsh enough? Thank you guys for listening, and please catch us in our next video.